if you ask just anyone what is accessible, you get lots of answers without the parameters to qualify what is accessible. For example, is a 1 meter wide door accessible? Well, perhaps it is, but is it 80 centimeter door wide accessible? Now that depends on who uses that doorway. And then you could have many doubts like that. What is the width of a corridor? Or what is the slope of a ramp? What is the illumination that you need for people to be able to read signs, including people that have a normal sight, when it comes to people with impairments, sight impairments, it varies a lot. So what are the parameters? And besides that, it should be, like we are doing now, an international standard, which means that something that is perhaps good for Norway cannot be as good as for an African country or a Latin American one. So it varies. We have then to reach a consensus of what are the minimum requirements that are good for all. So we strive for being inclusive, and that now means that we have to have the largest contingent of people and nations in the world that can use that standard, which is difficult because everyone tries to defend its own interests.
And why is that important to have a common international standards?
Well, for one thing, people travel. So if we have a person in a wheelchair coming from Asia, where you have certain parameters for accessibility, and visiting or working here in Europe, you would like for this person to be able to meet the same difficulties and facilities that they have at home. So that's one point. Another point that is also to be taken into account is that goods are exported worldwide. And so things like bathroom fixtures, that should be an international agreement on what they look like, what they perform like, and so on. And perhaps also it's important to take into account the cultural differences. So being in an international standardization group means to be aware of those differences and not being too national.
And now you've had a meeting here in Norway. Has it been a good meeting?
It has indeed been a good meeting. We have advanced over a few topics that were hindering the development of this revision. And this demands a lot of talks and exposition of ideas. I think this was a very successful meeting compared to what we had been going on before. And so it looks very now very fortunate that we reached this point to try to reach the conclusion of the revision within a year and a half, which looks like a long time, but who works in standards know that it has to be like that.